Welcome to the Healthy Mind Collective Let's Talk podcast, where
Woo!
we chat about building success and maintaining a healthy mind. I'm Heather Renee Johnson,
And I'm Carly Fink Maddox.
and
Talk.
let's talk. Hi, Carly. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. This is our first ever podcast.
I know. I'm so excited.
Show number 1. I can't believe it's finally happening. Woohoo! I can't wait. So this morning I woke up and I didn't have any coffee in the house whatsoever. I was out of the cold brew. I was out of the hot coffee. I was out of coffee filters.
Oh, no.
So it's been a rough morning, but I got it taken care of. I'm up and running. How was your morning?
That would not happen to me because I set my coffee pot up at night. So I would be running to the grocery store at 9 o'clock at night if I had to get coffee. I have to have my coffee in the morning.
I ran to the grocery store first thing this morning and I was looking a hot mess, let me tell you. Pajamas on. It wasn't pretty.
That's me in the carpool line every day to drop my daughter off.
Oh, well, we made it, didn't we?
Yes.
So let's go into the news. Let's talk about Healthy Mind Collective. We're part of 1EXP. Can you believe it?
Yes, I'm so excited.
I can't believe it. This was our goal. We have been a part of DEI for how many months now? 9?
Something like that. Yeah, I think so.
And we had to work our way and earn our place in 1EXP. And here we are.
Yes.
I'm so excited about that. We have a lot of goals for the next year coming up that we can talk about a little bit later, but I can't wait to share those. What other updates do we have? I think we have something coming up with Mindful Monday. We have a lot of people asking us about that.
Yes, we had to put a little pause on it because Mondays tend to be extremely busy. And so I was having trouble with my schedule being able to stop in the middle of the day. So we are now moving it to Wednesdays at noon Eastern, and it will now be called Midweek Reset. And it will still be in the Zen Den, which is under DEI. And so Heather and I will be leading 15 to 20 minutes, just quick meditations just to reset your mind, your body, your brain, your outlook. And this is for staff, agents, everybody. So please join us.
Yes.
Next week.
Can't wait to get started with that again. It's just a wonderful way to take a break during the week and reset your mind and take a deep breath. And I think we all need that. Everyone's super busy right now, so it's great.
Absolutely.
Well, would you like to introduce our very first ever guest on the Let's Talk podcast?
Yes. So I am so excited to introduce our guest. It is none other than Cody Gilkison. He is the senior manager of DEI. So, we had to have Cody here as for our first guest.
Hey,
Hi,
ladies.
Cody. Woohoo!
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yes, we're so excited for you to be here with us.
I'm stoked to be here. I'm so proud of you guys. You guys have killed it since the very inception of the Healthy Mind Collective. We started with DEI and we said, let's do this champions program, right? Where 1EXP covers a lot of topics, but there's some that we certainly don't. And so I was looking for folks that were really out there and vocal and killing it about topics that weren't covered by 1EXP. And that's where I found both of you. And then Healthy Mind Collective was born. You're looking right now in glorious HD at the 3 co-founders of the Healthy Mind Collective. And it was always our goal to become a 1EXP resource group. And I'm just so proud that you guys knocked the presentation out of the park. You were unanimously approved to be part of 1EXP. And look at us now.
Oh my gosh. It's amazing. I was so nervous when we presented in front of 1EXP. And yeah, it was just amazing. to get a unanimous vote in.
Yeah.
I think the real estate industry is, when I was researching a while back about the real estate industry and mental health, the real estate industry was the second highest rate of mental health issues, illness, just stressors under the medical industry. So I think, this is definitely something that needs to be talked about. Everybody has mental health, whether you have some sort of diagnosed, illness or anything. Mental health just comes strictly with, coincides with self-care.
It sure does. And I think that Healthy Mind Collective has really knocked it out of the park with engaging our employees who are stressed as tech employees.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's such a bigger market for us to reach with our agent community, because I think what you're talking to is exactly right. Agents have all these mental health struggles that come up as part of the job. You don't have a set, steady income. All of that is stressful. So, and building your business can be this big monster on your back all the time. So what I love about Healthy Mind Collective is that last word, right? Collective, where people can come in, join the conversation, add what they have to say to it, and be valued for their feedback, and be able to have a conversation with folks going through a similar experience that may have some expertise, or that can have some life examples that could help somebody through something like that. That's what's beautiful about this group to me.
And I love the fact that we've been such a great resource to EXP employees. That was not planned at all.
Right.
It just happened naturally. But a goal of ours, now that we're part of One EXP, is to really grow our agent base. We want this to be an inclusive collective for everyone, employees and agents alike. So we are being very diligent in our podcast to have guest agent speakers, because we really want our agents to be involved in this collection.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you could say, for anybody that feels like they have something to add to the conversation, by all means, post in the Healthy Mind Collective, or come straight to Heather or Carly or even me, and we can make you a guest on this podcast. Come on and share.
Absolutely.
Well, we have a form actually that we post, and we'll pin that to the top of the Healthy Mind Collective workplace group. It's a form where you can ask to be a part of our podcast. You can suggest topics for a podcast. We need suggestions. Please send us your suggestions. Tell us how we're doing. If you don't agree with something, come onto the pod and talk about it. Let's discuss, so the form is there. Anyone can fill it out. It's open to all. And we want to hear from you.
Absolutely. We are a safe space, open to all minds, all opinions. As long as you're kind, that's all we ask.
The most important thing.
Yes.
Everyone is welcome.
Love that.
So this podcast is to really kick off Mental Health Awareness Month, which is today, starting May 1st. And we are going to be also linking the link to the NAMI website, so that you can find all kinds of information around mental health, resources, anything you could possibly need. But this year's campaign for the month is titled More Than Enough. So their goal, right, is that it's an opportunity for all of us to come together and remember the inherent value we each hold, no matter what our diagnosis, appearance, socioeconomic status, background, or ability. We want every person out there to know that if all you did today was wake up, then that is more than enough. No matter what, you are inherently worthy of more than enough life, love, and healing. Showing up just as you are for yourself and for the people around you is more than enough. So that is the campaign for this month. And so really the first question that we wanted to start out with is, why do we have these feelings that we aren't enough? Who wants to kick off the answer, their feeling about the answer?
I think that, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We put a lot of pressure on our society puts pressure on. You have to be doing and going and going and going. And especially whenever you're working and you're trying to take care of your family, you feel like there aren't enough hours in a day and you're never doing enough. But I know that whenever I push myself personally so hard, that like I just stop and I feel like I can't function. So like if I don't choose to take a break, my body takes a break for me, and I feel like I can't get anything done on my day off. I think that happens to a lot of people, and I absolutely love this campaign because I think that it's really letting us know we're all human. We all need breaks. If all you did the whole day was paint your nails or watch TV or play video games, that's okay. That's okay because that's self care. And that's more than enough.
That's right. I think when we're talking about having feelings of being not enough, uh, there's kind of a buzzword going around that lots of people are using lately, but it's so real. It's called imposter syndrome, right? Where sometimes we as millennials and Gen Z folks feel like maybe we're not good enough for the situations we're in, or the job that we're doing, or the people that we surround ourselves with. Like maybe we're the odd one out, and we're just kind of tricking everybody into thinking that we're good enough for this. And I think that's very real. That's something I feel all the time. As someone whose DEI journey really started as I did a lot of volunteer work, and I was often just a cog in the wheel, kind of deal. And then when I made a lot of noise at EXP about DEI and some stuff that I saw that could be done better, EXP said, okay, do it, fix it, right? And now I'm in this position, and I'm the one cranking the wheel. And I feel a lot like, what if I miss something? What if I don't get everything I want to accomplish accomplished? What if, there's a personality conflict I can't get past? Like, is this really, there's got to be somebody smarter than me to do this. I feel that all the time. But what it really comes down to is I was put in this position for a reason. They valued my expertise and my background enough to give me the keys to the kingdom kind of deal. And, ultimately, there are people who believe in me, and I don't want to let them down. So I'm gotta not waste this opportunity is really where I am. But yeah, that imposter syndrome thing, honey, that's every day for me. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, today I'm going to be a guest on this podcast, and then next week I'm going and speaking as a top LGBT real estate professional in the country, and I'm like, who called me that? Where did I get that? Like I've been doing real estate business, not even as an agent, but just in the background for less than 2 years at this point. But it's about the mark you make with the power you're given. And it's about self-appreciation too. Sometimes you got to take a look back, and you get so one foot in front of the other that you forget to look back and be like, oh, I've done a lot of stuff at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that, just like in our personal lives, social media and just shows and everything in general, right? We're scrolling through and we're seeing these people do things constantly, right? Like working out, you see all the workout videos, and you see, the makeup tutorials. And, for me, it's like, I see these moms who like are doing all these things, right? And then I like look down at myself and I'm like sitting on the couch still in my pajamas, and I start getting these thoughts, right? Like, why am I not doing that? Why am I not up working out? Why did I not get dressed to go take my daughter to school this morning? Like, why did I not do my hair and makeup? And at the end of the day, right, none of that matters. None of that is who I am as a person or what I offer people. And so I think it's so important, right, to remind ourselves that the things that we see and what other people do are one, a lot for show, but also that does not define them as a person, right? And it doesn't define us as a person as either. You know, what's inside the things, our actions and the words we say are what defines us as a person and shows who we are, right? And that's what you have to go with, right? That's what you have to tell yourself every day. I am enough, right? I am putting food on the table. I'm taking care of my daughter. She's happy. She's healthy. I have an amazing job. I have an amazing, spouse. And so clearly, again, like you said, I am doing something right. And, I am enough. And I think it's just, we have to constantly go back, right? It's a habit. It's a habitual thing. You have to constantly go back in and reset your mind. And when you start going into those negative thought patterns, stop, like close your eyes for a second and like reset your mind. And I like to, when I get in those, I like to close my eyes and say 5 positive things about myself. Because that's immediately going to reset your mind to start going into a positive pattern, right? So whether they're 5 things that like, I made the coffee this morning, right? It doesn't have to be anything grand. It can be something so small. But I think just saying the 5 positive things when you go into that negative mindset just really flips the script, right? And starts making your mind go in a positive direction.
I think it's a great point. And also, like, you are the one planning ahead and making your coffee at 9 p.m. the night before. So I think you're doing fantastic, Carly, because
you're already ahead of me.
So, okay, the only thing about that is because I'm so not a morning person. So for me to have to get up and go to the coffee pot and actually put the things together and make it, that no. Yeah. So I just set it up the night before. The timer goes off. So when I get up, it's already made. I don't have to think about it. I just pour it and drink it.
Oh, I'm so the opposite. I'm lazy in the evenings, but like I'm definitely a morning person. That's whenever I'm like the most productive is like in the morning or like the first half of the day. So
yeah,
completely the opposite.
I am a morning person, but I have a very regimented morning routine. And if any piece of that falls apart, the rest of my day is trash. Right. So I have to, get my stuff done. If I don't get up, get my shower, brush my teeth, shave, all those things, and not wake up my husband because my bathroom is connected and he's trying to sleep. And then get out, I sit in front of a video game, I play a video game, get my mind somewhere else. And then I sit and have breakfast with my sister-in-law and talk about what's coming up in the day, talk about my feelings about the meetings that I had coming up in the day. If I don't get to do all that, the first meeting's just going to be like, what are we doing here?
That's a lot. That is a morning process.
Yeah, that is a solid process.
But what does happen? Like, how do you wrangle yourself back in if it does get like derailed?
This is something I meant to mention earlier is the first promise I made to myself and to everyone that supports me when I took on a role in DEI was I'm going to be open and honest about my feelings and my journey and my experiences, right? So if I come into one of those first meetings and things aren't going my way that morning, I'm upfront and honest. It may take me a minute to acclimate to having a conversation with you. So give me a minute to get my bearings, and I'm going to jump on this treadmill that's already going 40 miles an hour. That's what it feels like for my brain, right? And I'm going to slip and trip a minute, but then I'll get there, right? It just, we got to work within the confines of what's going on up here, right?
And I think that's good, right? Because you're being honest, right? So that means, right, you're not going to try to offer something to the conversation that, right, might be, I'm not going to say meaningless, but isn't part of like, isn't worthwhile information, right? You're like, give me a second. I got to like catch myself up.
Yeah. I think we should advocate for more communication in the workplace about like our feelings. Like if we're not in the right headspace for something, like I think that we should normalize just communicating that with the people that you're meeting with and the people that you're working with and saying, right, I need a little bit more grace today because I'm having a hard time. And then as coworkers, providing that
Yeah.
to your coworkers. And then that's how you work as a team. That's how, as a team, you pull together and you get things done, is supporting each other and giving each other some grace when one of us is just like off their game that day. We're human,
Yeah.
it happens.
And, I think it's also important to remember that when I say I'm open and honest about my feelings and my experience, there are things that I keep sacred, right? I'm not telling you to go tell your coworker who's bothering you when you don't want to be bothered, the gory details of why you're feeling bad this morning, right? But I think it is an okay thing to say, I'm having a little bit of a struggle bus day today. So forgive me. If you could offer me a little bit of grace this morning, I'll get there. Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
Right. I think
Yeah.
that's a fair thing to say. Right. And if you come to a situation where you ask for that grace and it's not being reciprocated, or somebody's not respecting that, then that helps us build natural boundaries. I think that's a way that we know, okay, with this person, maybe they're not as respectful to that kind of thing, and bear that in mind as you bare your soul in the future. And if they are very receptive to it, then you may have just found a way, using your own vulnerability, to make a friend. And I think in this virtual work experience, that sort of vulnerability is rare. And also, it's not easy to make friends with your coworkers in a virtual space, especially when you've all been assigned your own silos of work and you rarely see each other, right? So take those opportunities when you get them.
Yeah.
That's something that I've had to learn being with EXP, and also being with EXP, like, went through the pandemic and I moved to a different city and I didn't know people in the city. And it took a lot of conscious effort to reach out to people and, set up meetings and introduce myself and find out what other people in the company were doing and getting to know them. And that's can be really hard, especially whenever you're not someone who, is naturally outgoing. Some of us aren't. So it can be so hard. And definitely working in a virtual environment can feel isolating. So it takes kind of thinking outside the box to make connections with your coworkers. But I found, like, since I have been making conscious efforts to get to know people, that I have made some really close friendships with people that I've never even met in real life yet. And whenever you're both seeking that connection and you both have that open vulnerability, it's almost like you connect stronger because we're far apart, right?
Yeah, you have to open up and share more about yourself, and your communication skills definitely get a lot of practice in this in this kind of environment.
For sure. And I think, it can't be understated. The lead was sort of buried there, that Miss Corona really had a lasting impact and continues to have a lasting impact on a lot of people's mental health.
Oh, absolutely.
For me, I went from working in an office setting where I was in an office building with 600 employees, and I was known as that guy that was a go around and visitor. I would use my lunch breaks to do that, just to catch up with people, tell a story, like I'm that social butterfly in person. But when I don't have access to that, when we're in this virtual work space, it really has adjusted the way my mind works, being 3 years at this point. Can you believe that? 3 years into the pandemic now. We have learned to get that dopamine hit that we used to get from all that in other ways. And so if you haven't found that new way to replace that dopamine hit that you get if you're an extrovert who's stuck in your craft room doing podcasts, you got to find it somehow. You got to find your happy, and embrace that, and also embrace the fact that changing is healthy and positive, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And it's important to accept change into your life as you grow. We can't grow without change.
Yeah.
So change is uncomfortable and often very, very scary for a lot of people. I don't know anyone that doesn't that likes change, honestly, because it's hard, it's scary, it's something new, but it's absolutely necessary for growth.
I will say before COVID, I was a huge extrovert. I loved social events. I loved being with my friends all the time and constantly having people at our house. And while I am still an extrovert, I now need what I call social breaks. I get very tired of peopling pretty quick, right? And I never did before, never did. But and now, right, it's like I call it like it's like protecting our mental health, right? So I have to have that boundary now where, my wife used to know me as like the social butterfly that always wanted to do the things. And now I have to I have to be like, we can't have people over this weekend. Like, I need a social break for my mental health, right? I need to like have some time for myself with just my family, like, and not be entertaining and talking and trying to have all these conversations. So it COVID, yes, changed me as a person altogether. But I think it's honestly been a good thing because it's made me now do more self-care and more maintenance on my mental health. Because otherwise I was getting, when COVID opened back, when we started hanging back out and things, I was starting to have more anxiety attacks, more panic attacks because I was so overwhelmed, um, and not understanding why my body was starting to feel like that. So I think it was honestly a good thing, right? Because now I have that boundary that says, no, I can feel it in my body, I can feel it in my brain. I need a break, and I need to have some one-on-one time.
And that's a good point. On the flip side of working virtually, while it can be hard to get to know people and make connections, at the same time, if you are having an off day, the great thing about being remote is that you can kind of put do not disturb on for an hour and have some moment working quietly alone without anyone bothering you
Yeah.
so that you can kind of reset and get your mind on right and then continue with the rest of the day. So I really enjoy having that as part of my workday every day, and working remotely is one of the biggest reasons why I like it, because we all get overwhelmed and we can't people, right?
Hmm.
So having the opportunity to just kind of take a step back from everything and work solo and give your mind a break and get yourself into a better mindset, it's amazing. Like, that's definitely a perk of working remotely.
And
Yeah.
and working for a company that promotes so much, right? Like DEI, like mental health, all of these things. And Cody, I remember when you came on last year, as the DEI business partner, we started to have all of these like work events and stuff around DEI. And it was like so exciting for me, right? I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, our company is so progressive. We're doing all these things. So you came in with like a big bang to, the company, like in that position. So I just want to know, like, how did you get your start with like DEI, and like what makes you so passionate about it?
Sure, yeah. So, from my own personal story, I am someone who, I'm a gay man from the deep South who went through that whole conversion therapy process, and I've seen the dark side of what it's like to be discriminated against, right? And I grew up in a pretty racist household also. Um, I'm also an adopted child. We talk a lot about people's intersectional identities and what makes them who they are, but there's a lot to unpack there with me, just like with anybody. I was an adopted child. I found my birth mother 11 or 12 years ago, and, discovered that I have two half brothers and a half sister. My half sister is half black. So then I got to, witness her struggle as a mixed race person, right? And the way that people talk to her, the gall that some people have and the things that they say to her, right? Just really put it into perspective for me, like, man, there's a lot of folks in this country that get this, right? If you put together all of the discriminated against minorities, they far outweigh the majority, right? So these people deserve a voice. All of them do, no matter how small their community or, so that has always sort of been my passion, is to make sure that I could go forth and preach the things that I was taught at a young age, right? I was an adopted kid who was raised in a household where my adopted parents, there's not a nice or easy way to say this. We're in a good place now. They didn't have a lot of time for me when I was a kid, right? They worked, like 7 a.m. to 6 o'clock at night. And then when they would come home, I'd get a couple hours of being told, I'm relaxing, leave me alone, right? But for most of the day, I was raised in the household of a nanny. So I grew up in a Black household of a woman by the name of May, who really was big about collecting records of civil rights heroes and playing those for me and the other kids that were being raised there. I was the only white kid at that scenario, but I learned about Dr. King, and I learned about Malcolm X, and I learned about Coretta Scott King, and I learned about Nelson Mandela. And, I was there with her through all of the struggles with Rodney King and those kind of things. And that really colored my upbringing, because I would come home and talk about these things with my parents, and they're like, don't listen to any of that. That's just, that's not important, So, but I knew in my heart, that this is the way, as the Mandalorian would say, and then, as I got into my career, my early career was really about paying the bills, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then at my prior employer, I used to work at the Bank of New York Mellon. There came an opportunity for the local chapter of their LGBTQ plus resource group to take on some new leadership. So I did that, and it was all volunteer stuff. But then we discovered a couple key events that we could do and really get people turned around and involved and supportive in a way that people didn't know how supportive they were until you pull at their heartstrings, right? Mm-hmm. So I come from a background of doing charitable events that tug at people's heartstrings using real life stories of people. And I partnered with this organization that was local called ACR Health and the Q Center. And they had started like a registry of all of the homeless queer youth in the greater Syracuse area. And that was something like 300 kids, which seems like a lot, but that's the invisible population of our homeless right now, is LGBT and queer youth who aren't welcome in their own homes. And with the current outpouring of backlash and legality against the LGBT community, that subsect of humanity, the LGBT homeless youth, they still need our help. But here in 2014, we decided to start this program called Holiday Angels, where we put together these clear plastic shoebox size containers full of holiday goodies, gifts, stuff to keep clean and warm. And I would ask people to donate items to the boxes, donate a whole box, get your team to donate a box. And we did that for 3 years. We did 50 boxes the first year, 150 the second year, and 300 the third year. And that's what won me this little pink sneaker award back here. And I knew after I got that award that, like, I have the voice and the story that, if I tell this story, gets people invested in making sure that these kids have a Christmas gift. So it would be selfish of me not to use that voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then fast forward, I get laid off from Bank of New York Mellon. They're closing my location down and they want me to drive an hour and a half, and it's not working out. And then we move out to the middle of nowhere in the Midwest to be closer to my husband's family for his mental health. And I find EXP. In my interview at EXP, the talent acquisition partner has the wherewithal to look at my resume and say, I feel like our company is going to be doing something soon with DEI. You should take whatever ground level job you can get, and I'm going to empower you and help you get that job, because when this comes up, they need to know you, right? And it was a talent acquisition partner that got me to accept a job doing something I didn't understand at EXP Realty until the day came when a DEI position was ready, and it was me, right? So it was like destiny, you'd say.
Love it.
Yeah.
And you've done so much since you've been here. I think you've impacted so many staff members and agents. I mean, you put together amazing, events and panels, and you just give out so much amazing information that it's just opened the door for all of these different channels and avenues, right? Which is how we got this one. So I really think that's all because of you.
And I'd like to say, I think you're continuing to help other people find their place within EXP as well. So with me, before I came to EXP, I was working in direct care and mental health. And I was working with at-risk youth and children in foster care, adoptive children who are all struggling with their mental health and struggling with where they came from. But the thing about direct care, though, is that you get burnt out. No single human being can do direct care for more than a few years. It's hard work. And I was working like 80 hours a week. And I had a friend who was working in EXP, and she got me in the door, ground level, and I was happy to do it. I was so happy for the break. But, I've been here for 4 years now. After 3, I still really wanted to do something that was about mental health because it's still a passion of mine. And that's whenever I met you and we founded the Healthy Mind Collective. So I'm doing something that I love. I love working with EXP for so many different reasons, but I also love that I'm able to be an influence on something that I'm truly, absolutely passionate about. And that's because of you, Cody.
Thank you. That means a lot to me.
Well, it means a lot to me too.
I know, right? I know. We both, Heather and I, are both corporate with EXP. I'm also an agent as well, but it's so nice to be able to use our other, I don't know if you want to call them talents, right? Talents or knowledge or just, mindset, right? In different ways. And really hopefully be able to have an impact on our agents and our staff and help promote, positive, healthy mental health.
Yeah.
Well, so we are going to, I guess, start wrapping up. Sadly.
I know I this all day. But if you guys want to do mindset of the week, let's talk about our mindsets that we're taking into this week.
Okay.
So whether it's your mindset, your mantra, whatever it is, we're going to do this every podcast, but whatever our mindset of the week is. Who wants to start?
I'll start. I think I'm going to focus on change is good. Got a lot of change going on in my personal life, and it's scary and uncomfortable. And real talk, it's not fun. I'm not happy about it, but there is no growth without change. So I'm thinking growth. I'm thinking change. And that's my mindset, is that there is no growth without change. And even though it's uncomfortable and not fun, it's going to work out in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, for me, on a personal note, I won't dig too deep into this, but I well, I had to put my dog to sleep 2 weeks ago. And it's been a process of grief for me. And it's for the first time in my life, I'm dealing with that while the rest of my life and my relationships are healthy, right? So this week's mindset for me is embracing the love that I still have in my life and allowing myself to feel my feelings
Mm-hmm.
so that I can move on and honor the memory of my fallen best friend.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things ever. So, we love you so much. We're wrapping you in our virtual hugs.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cody, that I am sharing this with you because something that's been happening in my personal life is my dog was diagnosed with cancer a couple of weeks ago. And we have no idea how much time I have with her, but that has been a struggle every day. But I'm trying to treat every day just being grateful that I have it.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
So my mindset of the week is sitting in the uncomfortable. I have a lot of uncomfortable conversations that I have to have coming in the future, and just some uncomfortable situations as well in my personal life. But kind of like you, Heather, right? Like there's no growth or anything, right? Unless we allow ourselves to sit in the uncomfortable and deal with I was going to say a bad word, but I can't stay with that. Deal with our mess,
Our stuff. Yeah.
our stuff. Yeah. So I'm going to push myself to sit in the uncomfortable instead of like running the opposite direction. That's my mindset of the week.
Love it.
Love
it. Well, this has been amazing. This has been an amazing conversation with you, Cody. It always is. So I just want to remind our audience to please submit your questions, feedback, topic ideas. We will be posting this podcast every week for the month of May, for Mental Health Awareness Month. And the cadence of how often we post is completely dependent on your feedback. So if you like this, if you want us to do this more, let us know. And we will post as often as you want us to, that our time will allow. So don't want to volunteer us or something that we can't hang on to. But this is the beginning of our podcast. So your feedback is important to us. Let us know what you want to hear about. Post on the Healthy Mind Collective, join our workplace group, and reach out to Carly, Cody, or I anytime. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah. And if I can just plug some stuff for DEI coming up, I'm going to be speaking at the LGBTQ plus Real Estate Alliance Housing Symposium on May 12th, representing EXP, talking about proper representation in a divided nation, essentially. And in all of that in branding. And then for May, we'll have all of these beautiful podcasts coming from our Healthy Mind Collective. We're also launching EXP's official DEI podcast, Culture Cast, will be coming the week after shareholders. I've got a little graphic here for that as a little hello for that one.
Look at that handsome face.
Look at that guy. Look at that guy. That graphic is so sparkly, it makes me happy.
Cody,
so
I just realized and from that picture, you have a dimple in your chin.
I do have a cleft chin.
It's harder to see whenever, I don't know why, I feel like I've never noticed that, but when I just saw
it was more pronounced before I gained additional neck We'll call it skin and be nice.
I feel you, Cody.
I lived most of my life as a very thin person, and now I'm my term of endearment is tall fat.
Oh my gosh, whatever.
Yeah, it used to be more pronounced. Yeah, anyway.
Oh my God, that's too funny. Sorry, I went off topic, but I just saw that and I was like, oh, I never even knew it.
Distraction.
Yeah. Oh, there's my ADHD squirrel. Sorry.
I also call out, I will be there at shareholders at the 1EXP booth for basically the entirety of the conference. So if you want to come and let's talk, come on over to the booth.
Yes, I'll be there as well. I will be helping you at the booth. I know I haven't given you my hours back, but I will be there too.
And hopefully, I'm shooting for EXPCon. Shooting, so advocate for me. I'm hoping that my very first in-person EXP event. Oh, I've been waiting to go. I've been waiting for anyone. I'm shooting for EXPCon. So,
and we are having a mental health panel at shareholders event. It is on Friday the 19th from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time. We will market that as well. That is really agent focused. It's all agents that will be hosting and leading the panel. But we will be promoting it and kind of advising the agents for it and things like that. So come if you're at the shareholder summit to that breakout as well.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much for having me, guys. It's a pleasure. I'm so proud of you. Thank you. Can't wait to see more of the podcast.
I can't wait to see where we go with this. And with that, I guess that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.